Welcome to another episode of ClearPoint Unlock. My name is Michelle Poulton. I'm the Engagement Director for ClearPoint. Today we'll be talking about AI and operations at ClearPoint, and I have with me today Paul Scott, our COO. Paul, would you like to do a brief introduction about yourself?
Awesome. Nice to be here, Michelle. Yeah, Paul Scott, Chief Operating Officer at ClearPoint. 20-something plus, quite a lot more years in technology and quite a lot of those in sort of general management and operations. So, day to day, I'm certainly dealing with a number of those operational needs of a business. And so, really interested in having a good chat around how AI has been supporting ClearPoint in that space.
Thank you very much for joining us today. I really wanted to just get an understanding from you as to where ClearPoint is in its AI journey, how that started and where we are today.
Yeah, I guess like many other organisations out there, generative AI and ChatGPT came along and we were sort of wowed in terms of some of the possibilities. And so for us, it started in that space, experimenting. What could we do with some of those tools? We started actually, some of the first areas we looked at were in some of the sales areas. So how could we use some of these tools to help us generate sales proposals and be more efficient in that sort of space? Marketing was another huge area, obviously content and blogs. So that was another area where we got started. And then, other things in and around that area and RFPs. And so it was sort of interesting. That was sort of the human with assistance, right? Just getting used to those sort of simple tools and on a one-to-one basis, how could we be a little bit more efficient or help it with our creativity or whatever it might be?
For ClearPoint, we talk about the 3 stages of AI maturity. For us, I'm just quite curious as to what those 3 stages are and where is ClearPoint on that journey?
Yeah, so if I talk about our internal operations, the first is using AI as a tool on a one-to-one basis. So, last year that was a huge focus for us, making sure every ClearPointer was able to use those tools on a daily basis. So that sort of ticked off, and we've got great use of things such as Gemini and ChatGPT and those sort of things. And then the next is really that human and agent team working together. So humans, for instance, doing part of a process, maybe onboarding a new staff member, and then agents picking up and doing other parts of it. And then the third is really, human-led but agent-executed. So where we're sort of at is at the step 2. So we've got agents and humans working together on a business process. So I mentioned onboarding. We've got project administration and project coordination, finance processes, and all of those sort of things. Yeah, is sort of where we're at.
Yeah. It's interesting how that actually mirrors individuals' own personal journeys with AI. If I talk specifically for myself, spent obviously a lot of time in ChatGPT and using that to augment my own creative writing or business writing, and now elevating that up into the agent space as we start to identify agents and how they can be used in our day-to-day operations across the board, across all areas of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually, it's coming back to your role. You spend a lot of time every day with clients, ClearPoint clients,
Correct.
Ensuring that they're successful and that we're delivering successful outcomes for them. Where do you sort of see, or how do you see AI agents helping in your role? And, what are some of the benefits that you're sort of hoping for?
Well, if I think about what drives me individually, it's very much around wanting to deliver best value and outcomes to our clients. And there's a lot of what we do in our general day-to-day, which is fairly repetitive administrative tasks. They're all very, very important for businesses that are trying to be profitable and do right by our clients and remain compliant. But you can spend a fair bit of your time doing that. And when you talk about for clients, how is that driving value for the clients? It doesn't really. It goes with the territory. You're doing those things. So for me, I want to be able to make sure that I'm maximising the time I can spend with clients on crucial activity that's going to help drive their businesses forward. Anything that helps me do that from an agent perspective or more generic AI tooling, I'm going to be embracing in order to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, spending more time with clients is valuable for them. It's valuable for us, right? From an operations perspective, that's what we want to do, enable more of that. So that's really the goal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yes, definitely want to be doing that. But I love the fact that it mirrors my own journey so closely. But I think what that really indicates is that us as individuals are on that path, but so are businesses, so are our clients. And they're all facing the same sort of issues that we are, which is how do we best embrace AI and do that in a way that is compliant, it's ethical, that it is actually driving the right outcomes for our businesses and is well governed. Which I think from an operations perspective is probably a key point, is how are we doing this? How is it being governed effectively? So as we delve a little bit deeper into how ClearPoint has embraced AI and in the operations tasks that it's currently grappling with, what have we achieved? Where are we actually using AI currently?
So coming back to that sort of human agent teams, so if we think about that, what we're trying to do is think about that whole, what I call sort of deal to cash flow process. So right from the beginning of when we engage with a customer and opportunity, right to the moment we have delivered a project successfully. So that's what we've sort of been thinking about. So we've sort of sliced out a number of pieces. So for instance, project administration is one of the areas we've got started with. So as an example, as we go through that sales cycle and we sign a contract with a customer, we've got to get all that information into our systems. How long's the project, who are the people, what's the pricing, etc. So we're actually using AI to, for instance, go through all of our statements of work, pull out that information, and then to integrate with our back-end project administration systems to set up all that information. And that enables our team members to be able to capture timesheets, which is critical in our professional service industry. Timesheets are absolutely key to delivering a project and being able to invoice and generate. So that's one area. Previously that was quite data entry heavy, and it would have to be managed by a delivery manager. And so we're using an AI agent to do that. So that saves a whole bunch of time. It's done more quickly, and then that delivery manager can spend more time with the client. One of the other things I mentioned around the onboarding, so we're using AI as part of the onboarding project as well, onboarding steps for new staff members, validating contract details, making sure we've got all the compliance attributes, then going forward and in a smart way figuring out, where they need to be scheduled on and scheduling them. We're using it in some of our DFA processes, so delegated financial authority. So again, when we're going through and signing up new agreements, there's obviously a process in an organisation to get to sign off those contracts. So we're using AI and agents to specifically to again review those contracts, looking for potential risks, issues, etc., and raising those to the approvers in our workflow to help them actually focus and approve those contracts more quickly. Again, means we can turn them around and be more customer focused, but also using agents to be able to smartly review those things, which previously required a lot of institutional knowledge in someone's head, many years of experience to actually see where the risks and pitfalls could be in some of those agreements. And so now we can sort of train the agent to pick up on some of those pieces and the information that it's got. And then we sort of dabbled a little bit in our finance areas where we're sort of using AI agents to be able to smartly look at invoices and help, look at the quality of invoices that might come in from our suppliers and validate, expenses against our systems, etc. So that's sort of an interesting area we're just sort of working in there now. Again, wherever we can be more efficient and faster, it sort of benefits the organisation overall. So those are probably some of the areas we've dabbled in. And really, I think our goal is just to continue to drive more AI usage across that project life cycle. Again, the more we can use AI to be it in project reporting or other areas, the more time people like yourself can actually be just out spending time and having conversation with clients.
Yeah, the journey that ClearPoint is on is not unique to us. Most of our clients would be going on a similar journey. What would be your number one piece of advice that you would give to them? Where do they start? How do they embrace AI in their businesses and their operations?
Hard to come up with one, but let's think about that. I mean, look, if I look at my journey, I think key is leading from the front, right? Clear sponsorship, ideally from senior leadership, showing the way forward, getting involved and actually learning yourself. I think getting some quick wins on the board is sort of critical. So, trying not to bring an AI agent to, automate an entire person's rollout. That's just not really feasible at this stage. But I guess with those quick wins, showing success to the rest of the organisation in terms of what can be done, again, getting that buy-in. I think another key learning, if you've ever had other software built, quite typically you'll build some software for a business process and you'll test it and it'll just sort of generally keep running. It might need a little bit of maintenance. I think with AI agents, you've got to sort of think of them as a team member. I talked about that, human and agents working together, and just like any team member, there needs to be some sort of management and supervision. So they don't get it right every time, AI agents. So you've got to just think about that structure. How is that going to fit in? You can't just set and forget and, this magical agent's going to do a bunch of work and automate a process. You actually need to check in on it and make sure you've got that human in the loop to get good results.
Yeah.
They do enable you to scale, but some of those learnings in terms of that human in the loop is probably quite critical. But for sure, pick something that's manageable, get some quick wins and get that success.
Do you see the development of agents as needing to be done by someone who's highly technical, or is that really that it could actually be anyone like me because, I'm not that technical, as an example?
Yeah, look, I think everyone should give it a go. And, there's a variety of different platforms out there that enable agents to be built. So from an operational perspective, from a ClearPoint perspective, when I started to look at what we get going and try out, I looked at what platforms we already had in the business that were already safe and secure and part of our corporate suite, and some of those had added some agent capability. So that was an easy sort of on-ramp to get going. I would say those are probably more in the configurable and clicks and not codes. I think put the tool to one side because I personally don't think we should be wed to a particular tool. They'll change over time. New tools will come. It was about the learning for me in terms of what an agent could do, how it would work, what sort of processes it could automate, and some of the learnings in terms of just trying to start small and with something quite simple that could be successful with and then grow from there, really.
That you can also test the outcome.
Yeah,
and test it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's lots of different edge cases that might happen. You think you've sort of given the agent some really clear instructions in English about what you want it to do, and of course it will go away and do it, and sometimes it might be too helpful, right? It goes off on a tangent and tries to do something actually you didn't. So there's lots of different learnings, and that was certainly one for me, right? Being really clear what you want it to do and the constraints. And again, that's why you need that human in the loop. It does need constant improvement and change as you go, yeah.
Would we be safe to take that as a cautionary tale as opposed to advice? So don't just set and forget, work with it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like any other business process in an organisation, it needs to change and adapt and improve as you go. It's the same with an agent. If you set and forget, before you know it's going to go off on a tangent. If you leave a staff member in the back office and you don't engage with them or talk to them, then you're going to have some issue as well. So one of the things I was talking about before, those sort of 3 phases of adoption of using AI and agents, and I think that has been coined a frontier firm. What does that mean for ClearPoint?
For us, it would really mean that we're leading from the front. We're actively experimenting and prototyping with AI. There are lots of those cases that we're identifying every day that we're working on trying to prototype. What it means for our clients is that we're reimagining the way that we work, and we can help our clients on that same journey and reimagine the way they work in their internal operations.
Yeah, nice. One of the things I actually really loved about the work around frontier firms is they sort of coined this term agent boss. And it's like we're all going to be agent bosses, actually, which is really where, that's the term for managers who are going to be, looking after agents. So that's more that third tier. So that might be on everyone's job description at ClearPoint moving forward.
Agent boss.
Maybe the agent boss, yeah.
Excellent.
So now, again, maybe, Michelle, if you were to put yourself in the shoes of our clients here at ClearPoint, why should they really care about how we're using AI agents as part of our internal operations? What's really in it for them?
I think there's 2 aspects to the answer to that question. The one being, how are we using ourselves as our own test case in how we can leverage AI to move our business forward, both internally from our operations perspective, but how we go to market, and really talk knowledgeably as we help our clients on their own journey. So I think that's really important. We aren't just saying, we're actively doing as well. And that's really important for us as a business to not just say, but show as well. In parallel with that, it's really important for us as individuals to understand how AI is shaping the way we work. And that's not just for our generation, it's for future generations. And we've really got to be ahead of the curve on that, which is why we do want to class ourselves as a frontier firm and why we want to be actively experimenting and prototyping with this technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other one that I love, just to bring it back in simple terms, is we get to spend more time with them, bring them more innovation and actually helping them out with their problems, right? So, yeah.
So, Paul, obviously operations is a massive topic. It touches every area of business that we have and in all of our engagements with all of our clients. How do you prioritise where to focus our attention on agents? Where do we start?
So I think really, for me, it's about starting with process discovery, right? So having a look at your business processes as they are. Some you might have mapped already and documented, some you might not. We're no different to any other organisation from that perspective. Obviously, we also want to understand pain points that the business might have already and where they're at. Then what it is about for me, turning those into ROI. Where can we actually get benefits? So we've got sort of our ideas for things that we might want to use AI to automate or agents, and then try and map some ROI or value back into those. So create some sort of matrix to actually see where the most value can be sort of derived and go from there in terms of helping us prioritize. Now, obviously there's some low-hanging fruit, and I sort of, depending on where you are in that cycle, I mentioned that, you quite often do want quick wins. So there may be some that you can go, well, actually, we can achieve those quite quickly. There's some good value and sort of start from there. And then really it's just around just being adaptable to the business and having, you're looking to reprioritize as you sort of deliver things. But really key is, understand the ROI. So, if you can automate using an AI agent, one part of the process, and that, could free up quite a lot of time from someone's day, that's probably a good place to start.
So when we talk at ClearPoint about AI in operations, are we talking specifically agents or the use of any AI tooling?
I think, if we come back to that maturity, it could be across all of those. For sure at the moment, what we're trying to do is move into that more of that agent space, that human and agents working together, because that's where we get scalability. The further we go up that maturity, that phase 1, 2, 3, we're more scalable, so we can have multiple agents with just sort of one human sort of dealing with them, rather than a one-to-one, if you or I picking up ChatGPT or Gemini and trying to do something, an agent can sort of scale well beyond that. So our ambition at ClearPoint is to continue to move up that TFM maturity scale, just like many of our clients would be as well.
Okay. With so many tools out there and the speed of change that is happening in this area, how do we as a business remain at the forefront of that? And how do we make decisions on which tools to adopt given that speed of change?
Yeah, I hear a lot of, if you jump onto X or Twitter, and you'll see a lot of people talking about the latest tools out there, and for being agents, be it N8N or Zapier or whatever it might be. And there's a lot of focus on that. I think you sort of need to step away from that. If you follow what's happening in AI, every week there's a huge amount of change, new models, new tools. So I think my personal advice is sort of put the tools to one side and take the learnings, right? So again, if it's the learnings around how do I get agents and humans working together, today you might be using a different tool to tomorrow. What I've actually done is we've sort of, built a library of all of the agents that we've got, and in plain English, so we can understand what they do and what they're trying to achieve, what sort of tools that they're using. So tools as in, do they need to connect to Slack or Google Docs or HubSpot or whatever other tools, and what process they're trying to do, so that if we do need to change tools or something new comes along that's better or more efficient or easier to use, we can quite easily take our agents and try and move them across. So I think it is easy to get locked in, and you sort of, you've been using this agent tool for so long and you've got knowledge, etc. But I do think you need to be adaptable, right? Because something that might be simple in one platform or one agent tool, it might not be in another. So that's what we're doing from a internal ops at ClearPoint, and it's to the same extent it's what we're doing for our market facing offerings as well, right? We've got a few solutions we take to market, but that will change and depends on what happens in the market.
Yeah, so I'm hearing a lot of similarities to how we would run a software development project, for example, is very much driven by business needs first, not locked into a solution. So it's not solution-led, but rather business requirement-led. And then you select the tools that are most appropriate to that when you're trying to develop.
Absolutely. I mean, when we got started, as I mentioned, getting that first proof of concept up and going. Quite often it's easier to, if you've got a platform within your technology environment that's already approved and in place that you can leverage to maybe build some agents, could be an easy way to get going, and that's certainly what we did. But then you might outgrow that or it might not be right. But at least you've got those first couple of agents, you've got some buy-in and success, and you can sort of share that with the organisation. The other thing is, you don't necessarily just have to have one tool for the job, right? And so that's what it's probably our thinking at the moment. We'll have some agents built with a certain sort of platform and technology and others with another, depending on what they're trying to achieve, the cost to run them and all those elements, because obviously cost from an operations perspective is something we track quite closely. What are some of the barriers that maybe you've seen or you've heard from clients about starting to use AI or AI agents, be it technical or cultural or business? Or could you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I can. One of the interesting terms that one of my clients uses, and I have to say I honestly love it, is agent spaghetti. They have a real concern over creating agent spaghetti, and by unleashing AI in their organisation, how do they control and govern the wave of agents that they're going to see evolving in their business? It's absolutely a valid concern. And when we look back to ClearPoint ourselves, I think we have a similar concern.
We certainly
How do you control it?
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to get their hands on it, and I'm certainly not going to be alone in that. I want to get my hands on it, as you know.
Yeah.
Let me add it. So I think that's probably one of the biggest areas of concern is how do you allow your people to actively embrace this technology that allows you to stay at the forefront of this tech, where your people are able to embrace it and keep their skills up and move forward with the technology, but in a way that's safe and is ethical and is protecting your own data. Certainly from ourselves, when I look at what we're trying to do, even just with the areas that I'm trying to work in, it's how do I do this in a way that enables me to get access to the information and the data that I need, but is within the boundaries and the guardrails that the organisation is establishing and needs to establish to protect itself and protect our clients. Those questions are absolutely going to be mirrored in all of the clients that I'm speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, we've been asking ourselves all of those same questions. On one hand, to be a leader, our people need to get experience and understand and can build agents, etc. And naturally, they want to get access to our, crown jewels, their email and all their documents, etc., which has got a lot of rich information to help with their process. But then there's that safety side, and as so like a lot of our clients are in regulated industries, which which is even that next step. So it's certainly challenging, and I think it's not a one size fit answer to deal with all of those. But certainly, I think, when you come back to how do you sort of select what to do next, etc., those need to come into as a decision point. So it's a value, yes, but constraints as well.
Yeah.
The challenges, the high value things probably have quite heavy constraints on them. Yeah.
For sure. Excellent. And then I think obviously the other barrier that I see is that technical capability.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned, I'm not massively technical myself. I can hold my own, but it's alluring to have tools out there that are these no-code tools. You want to get your hands on them. You want to be able to work with them. So there is a sense for people, particularly people like me, that feel like things moving on so quickly that we're going to get left behind. How do we stay at the forefront and stay relevant in the businesses that we're in? And that is a key thing for me. So there's lots of training that's going on offline, lots of prototyping and things that we're doing. Certainly not alone in that respect. But it's how does that get applied in my day job in a way that I can leverage it for both the betterment of the company, but also for my clients.
There's a lot to keep up with, as I said. There's announcements all the time. I think, like at ClearPoint, that upskilling is critical, right? And we're sort of just learning as we go. So it's not like you can go and, get a detailed online course that's well formed and with lots of details, because by the time they've created it, something's changed. So we try and encourage people to take time out. We've got various lunch and learns happening every week on different topics where thought leaders or even anyone in the business who's learned something is sharing that. So that constant knowledge sharing is sort of critical. So I think even for our clients, they need to put such sort of programs in place to upskill people. But then it comes back to what, if you're upskilling people on what they can do, but you're not enabling them to go and create, then that can create that friction as well and that barrier in terms of frustration. Yeah.
And a little bit of fear. You don't want to get left behind. You want to stay at the forefront of it, and you need active use cases to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you've got to get your organisational metrics behind it. We certainly in our KPIs for ClearPoint, we follow the OKR approach, and so we've got key OKRs that sort of measure how many sort of AI and initiatives people are involved in to try and drive everyone in ClearPoint to be able to build an agent of some shape and be able to demonstrate that. So.
Yeah, no, and that's fantastic to see with a program of work around it as well, which is to say it's not just about the action of building agents, but also the upskilling and the training and building that competency across all levels of the business, which is awesome. Yeah. Earlier on, we talked about the 3 phases of AI adoption and that really forming the basis of a frontier firm. As we go up through that maturity level, how do you balance human oversight and trust in an organisation when AI is running big parts of your operations?
Absolutely. I think, key to that, even from a frontier firm perspective, as you go up, humans still have to be part of it, right? We're just not going to have agents running a business and, we're out playing golf every day or whatever it might be. It's just not going to happen, right? So as part of that frontier firm, that agent boss, right? So humans need to be managing agents. So that could be in the form of human in the loop. So maybe as parts of a business process are coming through, a human might have to review the work the agent's done and sort of approve it and before it actually processes through. So significantly cutting down the amount of work the human might need to do, to actually, going through and reviewing the results of what agents are doing and looking for areas where maybe that could be improved and updating the prompts, etc., to them. So I think those two things are sort of critical. Yeah, and there's hysteria out there that agents are just going to take over and do everything. They need supervision, they need management, and so I think that's sort of the direction that we're going to go.
So even in that context, it's about humans providing the highest value activity and task to those activities, as opposed to, you say, playing golf. Yeah. Well,
okay. It's that judgment, right? Yeah. That human judgment, especially at the moment. The thing to remember is these AI models are not, non-deterministic, right? So you can give them the same instruction in different times it might run, you might get a slightly different result. Just like you would from a human. The humans, you can ask them to follow a process, but, they might do it slightly differently each time. So with agents, you just need that oversight because they just can go off the rails sometimes. So, yeah, that's sort of where I see it.
So, Paul, fantastic discussion we've had. But as we look forward now, what do you foresee for the future of AI in operations?
It's a difficult question because things are changing quite frequently. I think every week the underlying models that power these AI agents are getting better, smarter, faster, cheaper, etc., etc. So I think from an operations perspective, business processes that can be clearly defined will be automated using AI agents. So I think we'll see a continued drive to do that. One, it's more efficient. We're talking about saving money, and in operations, it's a key part of it. But 2, it significantly improves the customer experience, right? Things that can be done quicker and faster and cheaper will get a better outcome for customers. So we're going to continue to see that. So as I say, as things go on, the models get better, the different tools, integration points that they can talk to, because ultimately these agents need to sort of fit in with an existing ecosystem of tools within an enterprise, that will get better. And I think that'll enable organisations to scale, and the operations of an organisation will be able to support the growth. Without a doubt, we'll continue to push up into that maturity. So, the agent boss, I'll get that on my business card before long. I just see there's an opportunity for organisations to do more. Yes, there's the more efficient and there's the cost side, but I think most organisations have a growth mindset and want to do more if they can. And particularly, I think in smaller markets, I think it'll enable some of those organisations to compete more globally.
So really, to wrap up, we're right at the start of this. The future is bright, and we're all on the journey together.
Absolutely, we are.
Yeah, excellent.
Awesome.
Paul, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciated your insights into AI and operations and giving us some insight into how ClearPoint is embracing it. So thank you very much. Thank you.
It's been awesome to chat.